Because there are so many business communication methodologies available today, it ranges from paper to email to other electronic devices, telephone calls. There must be certain key principles, which we could apply to whichever communication methodology. So whether you using email, or whether you're using written communication, or whether you're using a typed report, there's basic principles that should be adhered to in all types of business communication. The first key principle in business communication is the communication details must be such that the sender is sending it properly to the receiver. In any communication, there's a sender, the person who provides the communication, who conveys the message, and a receiver, the person who receives the message. Now, the bulk of the responsibility of understanding the communication is with the sender, not with the receiver. You must talk in such a language that the person who hears you or reads your document understands you. Communication is always in the result, never in the intent. What this means is that what the person understands who receives your communication is a good test for your ability to communicate. In other words, the way in which you communicate must be such that the person understands it. It's not an excuse to say, well, that was not my intent, or I didn't mean to do this, or I didn't mean to do that. The person who understands your communication would be the ultimate examinator of how well you communicate. The second key principle of communication is to clearly state your purpose of the communication. Communication basically has two types of purposes. The first purpose would be where we call it project-based communication. That's when you want to achieve a specific goal. Now, in project-based communication, you try to get it done as quickly as possible. You've got a specific aim with this communication, you want to go somewhere with this communication, and you're heading there. So project-based communication is often called negotiation, because you want to achieve, you want to achieve the other person to say, yes, we can do this, or no, we cannot do this. You want to get to a point, you want to end the communication. That's project-based communication. And then we have what we call process-based communication. Now, process-based communication is when something is not necessarily going to end. Like, is maintaining a relationship. I mean, have an argument with your other significant person in your life, and then tell that person, well, let's get to the point, let's get to the end here, and you'll see how you just make that person more angry. You see, process-based communication is more tolerant towards nonsense items. You would listen to your wife or husband, just talk on and on and on about how the day went, because it's about the relationship. It's not about getting to a point. Be very clear on what your purpose for the communication is. Are you communicating to get something done, to get to a specific point, or are you communicating to establish and maintain a relationship? The third communication principle here is to understand your audience needs. Different people want to hear different things in different ways. Some people prefer written communication. Other people prefer verbal communication. Other people prefer telephonic communication. It all depends on who the person is that you communicate to. Remember, the onus is on you to provide effective communication, not on the receiver to hear it effectively. If your receiver is not hearing what you intended the receiver to hear, then it means there's a problem with your communication. Different people hear different things, and you can say different things to different people. If you don't believe me, if there's any men listening to there who's married, then why don't you go out tonight, and when your wife says something bad about her mother, agree with her. Say, hell, I can't believe that you say that she's such a bitch, and see what happens. You see, she can say anything about her mother. Doesn't mean that you can do the same. Know your audience. There's certain people who can hear certain things, and sometimes good communicators' greatest challenge is to be quiet, not to say things. The fourth very important principle of communication is multiple channels. You've got various ways of communicating. Now, what I do in my business is I rate my customers, if it is customers to whom you communicate. There's certain customers who they provide 80% of my income. Those customers are people who I take out for lunch. I take them for dinner. I give special attention to them. I meet them face to face. Then I've got level 2 customers. These are people who provide a certain amount of income to me, but they're not as important as the people who provide 80%. So to them, I will make a phone call every now and again. And then I've got the outer circle customers. These people who now and again give me work. To them, I send emails. So the energy I provide to my different customers, the mediums that I use, depends on who the people are that I communicate to. Now, this is not only so for customers, this is so for everybody. I don't think that you should send your wife emails about important things. This could lead to a divorce. That's somebody that you want to talk face to face to about problems. The same goes for your boss. But there might be somebody, in the building who needs to know something about a meeting. To that person you send an email. So your channels of communication must also fit the person who receives the communication. It's not just about using a specific channel of communication. It's also about linking that channel with the person who has to receive this communication. Last principle is new media. This is something that the older people struggle a bit with. Twitter, Facebook, all these new media channels. And there's BBM, BlackBerry messaging, and I don't even know all the stuff, WhatsApp, etc., etc. Now, many of the organizations don't even allow this type of communication because they say people spend too much time on their phones, but this is going to happen in any way. And it's a very good way to get the message across to the right audience. Let me tell you a little story about new communication. Just as Facebook came out, I was doing a consulting project in customer relations management to a blood service. The blood service job is to provide blood to hospitals so that when there's car accidents and blood is needed, that people, now the way this works is people go and give blood for free, and then the hospitals would buy this blood. And what they did is they put up big billboards on the roads, on the freeways where people drive. They would say, we need your blood, to save lives. And these billboards would cost them hundreds of thousands. And then I'd said to them, but why don't you use Facebook? They said, well, we're not allowed to use Facebook. It's against company policy. After a lot of negotiation, we got them to actually open up a Facebook page. I think currently they've got about 30,000 people on this Facebook page. And whenever they need blood, they send out a message to their audience and they say, listen, we need blood. There's people dying here. Next day, they've got their blood. What does Facebook cost them? Zero. There's a good example of how new media communication can really change the nature of your business. Do not resist this. It's here to stay.